What's up YouTube, Dellar here from Zephyr, and today, as in celebration for Halloween, we are bringing you an update to zombies. That's right, this set is incredibly fun. I do like the versatility of it. I love how it can be control, how it can be OTK. It just has a very, very nice range of accessibility. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the exact build, and in this build I've got two different engines. One is a little bit more cost friendly, one is a little bit more expensive, but I'll explain their utilities and how it can work. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit the notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Let's dive headfirst into the profile, starting off with the main monster being Unizombie. Now the reason we've gone with Unizombie in this version is, unlike the Shiranui Solitaire, when it tributes itself and gets hit with an Ash Blossom, it can really suck. Whereas with Unizombie, if it does get hit with an Ash Blossom, it still has that effect to be able to send from the hand. The only one that really stops it is something like an Imperm, but because of the supporting engine within the deck that I am trialing out at the moment, which is the Dear Bellstar engine, being able to leave that monster on the board is so much more valuable than having it being in the graveyard and not doing anything. Speaking of, the next card is, of course, Mizuki. Now, the one issue that the zombies have is that if it doesn't open up Unizombie and it opens up something like Mizuki, it's very difficult to get it from the field to the graveyard. And again, that's where the Dear Bellstar engine comes into play, because technically what you can do is you can normal summon the Mizuki, you can activate the Dear Bellstar, send the Mizuki, summon out the Dear Bellstar, get you the ability in order to send the Dear Bellstar and summon you out something like a Jet Synchron, and then you've got Mizuki, if there is Zombie World active on the board, to banish itself and then bring it back to the field, bringing back the Dear Bellstar. On top of that, it's probably a little bit more effective with something like Banshee, because you can send the Banshee, normal summon it, send it, bring out the Dear Bellstar, banish the Banshee, give you Zombie World, and you're good to keep on pushing. That's the whole idea behind the utilities of the Dear Bellstars, just in order to kind of help it grow a little bit further, and it then can open you up other options for more synchro plays in the form of stuff like level 8 synchros. If you wanted to go Savage Dragon, you just need to get that Link monster to the graveyard, or if you wanted to be pushing for more synchro level 10s, just off of the base of a Unizombie, and Unizombie, remember, can manipulate the levels on the board. Then we play a lot of one-offs, so play the one Glart Bloom, the one Plague Spreader Zombie, and of course the one Mad Mauler. Now you can choose not to play the Plague Spreader if you want to. The only reason this is in here is to help you utilize the ability to synchro it with a Border Rock in order to get you to a level 10 synchro, and it can also be utilized to kind of help you get into a Baron, which provides you that protection that you may or may not need. So if you don't want to play Plague Spreader, by all means you can completely cut it. It is currently a 43 card deck, and that's just something that I'm trying to shorten down depending on the engines that you play and how you want to adapt it. I'm going to pretty much show you all of the zombie cards I feel are core to the particular build, and that then leaves you with about a 10 to 12 card engine that you can adapt, whether you want to increase the Punk engine, whether you want to increase the Dear Bellstar engine, whether you want to cut both completely and go more control with Rivalry of the Warlords and of course Zombie World. It is entirely up to you. Then the other boss monsters that we are playing is the one Jacko Bolan, followed by the one Gozuki. I still personally quite like the Froilin. I think Froilin works out really well with the Punk engine, for the pure fact that when you're utilizing the Punk engine and burning away at your life points, getting to something as powerful as a Psychic End Punisher can be the one punch man to finish the game off. Then, of course, you've got your Qingxi and, of course, the one Destrudo. So Destrudo, again, can help you eat away at your own life points while also being able to help you synchro climb that little bit higher, or get you into your Red Eyes zombie Necro Dragon, which can be incredibly powerful because it will gain attack and defense for each zombie monster on the field and in the graveyard. So it does get more utilization off of the back of Zombie World. It is a zombie deck, so it does revolve around Zombie World a lot more. You can very easily, if you wanted to play other main deck boss monsters, play Eldritch the Golden Lord, but then at that point you might as well play Eldritch, and the reason Eldritch aren't being played right now is because Bestials are such a big issue that being able to banish the Golden Lord and constantly keep getting rid of it can be very damaging. The only hand trap we play is Triple Ash Blossom, for the pure fact that it's just generically good, and then the fact is a zombie does help the deck out as well. For the generic spells, I would always play Super Poly in this deck. And the one thing that this deck does, quite like the Lair of Darkness deck, is it can control, like, it doesn't matter what your opponent is playing, it can always set up its own Super Poly targets. So if you were playing a deck that doesn't involve a field spell that can control the types or the attributes of your opponent's monsters, it can get very, very tricky, because then you're like, okay, well, are they going to play into Mud Dragon? Are they going to play into Guru? Are they going to play into Dracus Tapelia? Whereas with this deck, it's like, right, well, as long as my zombie world is activated and resolves, my Super Poly is always going to be live no matter what monster they put on the board. It's not like, oh, they've got one boss monster like a Baron that I can't get rid of. It's like, oh, cool, they've got a Baron and any other monster. I can Super Poly clear that board off, deal with targeting, deal with anything, and then get myself a very nice, strong monster. Two small world, two zombie world. The reason I quite like the idea is triple Banshee to zombie world is for the pure fact that I'm constantly going to be able to get Banshee to the graveyard. The fact that Banshee is a quick effect as well does give you that utility that if your opponent does not read or understand Banshee and tries to bestial it, you go, okay, cool, banish the Banshee in response. That then gives me a zombie world. It also gives you that ability that should they try and get rid of the first zombie world, you then just banish it and bring out a second zombie world anyway. Then we play a couple of one-offs. So the 1-1-for-1. We only play 2 level 1s in the deck, but the idea behind this is, again, it's one of them ones that gets you another monster from your hand to the graveyard. So opening up something like a 1-for-1 plus, of course, a Mizuki can be very important, because you can get a Jet Synchron, or, of course, you can get your Glark Bloom to the board and then send the Mizuki. Now, I'm not playing in the extra deck a Link Karibo for a direct play off of the back of your Glark Bloom. It's more so the fact that the 1-for-1 can get me the Glark Bloom, and then I can get any zombie monster to the board, link off into Vampire Sucker, and then get a Border Rock. And then straight away, that's going to give me the ability for draw plays, and hopefully revival plays, as long as Zombie World is in play. Then, of course, we've got the 1 instant fusion followed up by the 1 ready fusion. I only play 1 target on this, and that's the level 2 tuner. You can very easily play the Sea Monster of Theseus, but I feel that the level 2 is a lot easier to kind of deal with, and the level 2 can help me get into my level 10 synchros, which is more important for me, because that sets you up the protection from stuff like Nibiru's and any higher level board clear cards. I'm then playing the 1 Reasoning. Now, the reason that I'm playing Reasoning is for the pure fact that it technically acts as a Foolish Burial as well as acting as an extender. Now, what I mean by that is if they call the number correctly and I Foolish Burial the card, sometimes that can be very, very helpful for me, because that card can then be able to utilize stuff like Border Rock, it could be Glark Bloom, it could be Mizuki, you name it. If they get the number wrong, and because I'm playing so many different levels, like levels 1s all the way up to level 8s, it can then become a free extender that can help me extend my plays further forward, whether it be Link Climbing, whether it be Synchro Climbing, you name it. And then, of course, you do have the 1 OG Foolish Burial. Now, again, I just really like the artwork, and I actually really like the kanji on this one, which is why it's not an English copy. But, of course, I do own English copies. If you're going to take this build to a tournament, make sure you use an English copy. Now, the first of the 2 engines I'm going to show you is probably the better one, in my opinion, just because of how it can help you go in first with mills for your zombies, but also help you go in second for an OTK push. And that is, of course, the Punk engine. So in this particular build, because I am testing out both this and the Dear Bellstar engine, and I've tried to keep them at a minimum, I've gone with 1 Z, 1 Tune, and 1 Dear Note, followed up by the 3 E-Telly. Now, you can actually recycle your Z Armin, so don't think that these are instantly dead. There are ways to recycle it. The idea is that I don't want to see any of these at all. I only want to see E-Tellys. I want this to be my extender. I want it to get me into Z Armin. I want to be able to build my board from there. You can, and I have seen builds that are playing the adventure package, but to me, they're not zombie builds, because they're decks that are not using Uni-Zombie. They're literally just playing the adventure engine, 4 zombie cards, and then the punk cards. And it's like, well, it's technically a punk adventure deck than it is a zombie deck, whereas this is ideally designed to be a zombie synchro deck as promised, but it can utilize links, it can utilize fusions, and 1XYZ as well. So that's the Punk engine. The best thing about this is obviously it eats away at your life points. It sets you up a 1 punch in the form of your Psychic End Punisher, but it can also set you up mills in the form of the Zombie Vampire as well. For the Dear Bellstar engine, playing obviously 1 of the Black Witch, triple of the Wanted, 1 original Sinful Spoils at Snake Eye, and of course the 1 Jet Synchron, as that is your fire level 1 that can summon off the back of the Snake Eyes. You can also consider the original Sins or the Sinful Spoils Ash, but then that would search out your Jet Synchro anyway, so you're just adding another card to get to it. Another one you can also consider is the original Sinful Spoils that puts one of your opponent's monsters into the Spell and Trap zone. That could be a very nice go second option if you wanted to. Now, obviously, when you're comparing the Punk engine with the Diabellstar engine, there is a massive jump in value. When you're looking at something like the Diabellstar, she's something like 20 to 25 quid on her own. The Snake Eyes is only like £4. So if you wanted to, and you still wanted to play the Jet Synchron engine and the Black Witch, is you could play the one Black Witch and the 3 of the Snake Eyes. And obviously the one is a £40 each. So that's a 6-card engine that can very easily be cut if you are on a budget, because you can very easily bump up the Punk engine. You could also very easily add in hand traps and more disruptions if you want to. I just wanted to kind of test this out, see if it worked within the deck, and how the helpful hand of being able to send from hand or field with your Black Witch or face up from the field with your Snake Eyes could help you put the cards into the graveyard, help you extend with a Jet Synchron, and then also help you push your plays further forward. It does unlock other options, and what I really wanted to do is I really wanted to fit in the TG Salamander with the TG Screw Serpent. But the issue is the best level 5 that you can make to help utilize in a deck like this is going to be your Junk Synchron or Jet Synchron. And what that's going to allow you to do, sorry, it's not Jet Synchron or Junk Synchron, should really know this, is your Axel Synchron, there we go, is you can get into the Axel, but then all you've got is a level 5 tuner on the board, and the only way that it can extend further is by sending a Jet Synchron specifically from deck to the grave. So you're just adding 2 more technical bricks you don't want to see in order to utilize it. I was hoping there was going to be a generic level 5 Synchro Zombie that would help you push your plays further forward. Sadly, there isn't. So that's it for the main deck. It is a 43 card deck. So technically, if you were to cut the 6 cards of the Sinful Spoils or the Snake Eye kind of engine, and then you wanted to add in 3 imperms, you would completely fill up the deck. But that's the best thing about it, is the deck can be played control, so it can go Zombie World with Rivalry, which is absolutely amazing. It can be full on aggression, so you start going with your triple super polys, you go with stuff like Lightning Storms, Evenlies, you name it, break a board, build a board, go from there. And then you can move off to however you choose to play it. So now moving on to the Link monsters, we play the 1 Vampire Sucker, the 1 Vampire Fascinator, and of course the 1 Yugioh. Now keep in mind, with these 3 cards, only one of them can use non-zombies to be made, and that's the Fascinator. Fascinator needs 2+ monsters, including a zombie monster, whereas the others specifically require 2 or more zombie monsters or 2 zombie monsters. So you do need to be very careful with this one, that you're not linking your Diabellstar off, your Jet Synchron off, your Destrudo off, anything like that to anything apart from the Fascinator. These are like the base Link monsters you can play, and if you wanted to make this deck more Link focused, of course you do have the Revendread Savior, which I think is an absolutely amazing card for the deck, but because I'm playing the Punk engine, the Aggressor doesn't come with the Revendread, it comes from the back of the Psychic End Punisher. For the fusion targets, so obviously your super poly targets and of course your instant fusion target, we are playing 2 Neversoul Dragon and 1 Albion. Now again, keep in mind that this card is actually a dragon monster, not a zombie monster. So you need to make sure that if you lock yourself into zombies, you don't try and super poly. So keep that in mind. That's why you want to super poly more times than not during your opponent's turn, once they've built out the board. And this obviously doesn't help you push for OTK because it will spawn you a token rather than doing any damage, but it does kind of help you flood the board a little bit more. The 1 XYZ that we are playing is the 1 Zombie Vampire. Now you can play any rank 8 that you want to as well. The reason this is so good is, like I said, the Punk engine can either go down Zombie Vampire going first, just not against tier elements, or of course, if you wanted to, you could also actually play Kelbeck and Yugioh, but you know, I'm not playing Saki tier, let's see if we can hit that right card at the right moment type deck. For the Synchro monsters, of course, we are playing the 1 Immortal Dragon, followed up by the 1 Zombie Necro Dragon. I've told you how aggressive this card is, so good. 1 Felgrand, 1 Dragon Lord, and then, of course, we've got the 1 Omega. Now, Omega is my go-to level 8 for the Synchro play to go into, overlay into the Zombie Vampire. So when you go for your Punks, the idea is, because I've kept the Punk engine at a minimum, you want to make Omega. You then want to make Zombie Vampire with it, and then you detach the Omega. So then that means that any mill you want to put back into the deck, you can do. Any of your Punk engines you want to put back in the deck, you can do, and you can put Omega back to the deck as well. On top of that, if you keep Omega on the board, it can recycle your banish back to the graveyard, which is obviously the Mizuki loop, but it can also be used to banish and then rip one from your opponent's hand. I did consider something like the Bestial Dispatter. The issue is, it only really came up like sporadically, in the sense that when you banish Omega, great target. If you banish Banshee, cool, another good target to bring back to the board, link it off, put it to the graveyard. The issue is, your main one that you want to recycle is Mizuki, and that's not a dark. Luckily it's a nerf, but then obviously unluckily it's a nerf as well. So you can't really utilize that to its high degree. Another option, and I'm just going to skip ahead and show you the Psychic End Punisher right now, because what I quite liked about the Psychic End Punisher is if you wanted to play this a little bit more aggressively and you didn't want to play your Chaos Angel and the Baron, obviously Baron is your defensive option, Chaos Angel is a nice aggressor, for the pure fact that when it is made, and more times than not you're going to be making it using dark monsters only, all your monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. So it means your monsters can run into your opponent's monsters and destroy them. And it can also then give you the ability that you can set all of your monsters to defense and your opponent can't punch through them. Now, obviously, Baron, I'm expecting to be a lot cheaper once the rarity set officially drops. I feel at the moment the pre-orders for super rare Barons are like £7 to £10, which is definitely worth it in my opinion. So hopefully these will be a lot easier to get hold of and it is your defensive option. Chaos Angel is, of course, still quite expensive. So if you wanted a budget alternative, a nice little way that I like for the aggressive push for this is a Scarred Dragon Archfiend plus a Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, the reason that these are so cool is through the punk play, what you do is you'd play your normal punk play, and then when you go and make the Psychic End Punisher, what you would do is rather than going into a Synchro level 8 of Omega, you'd go into a Synchro level 8 of Archfiend. Now, keep in mind, Archfiend requires a non-tuner dark monster. So you won't be able to complete it with the full punk combo, but the idea is, when you make your first Synchro play, as long as you've been able to manipulate levels with a normal summon of a uni-zombie or anything like that, getting into a Scarred will give you that ability to then Synchro off into Psychic End Punisher and bring out a Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, you won't get the ability to destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters because you're not going into a Dark Dragon, but what it will give you the ability for is it will give you the ability of having a monster on the board for the Psychic End Punisher to get rid of and banish. Not to mention you'd still have the leftover punk monster that can be utilised for that as well. But if your opponent's gone defensively because you had Psychic End Punisher set up from the previous turn, it will give you the ability to go, okay, cool, Red Dragon Archfiend, attack the defense vision monster, destroy it, then destroy all of your opponent's defense vision monsters. Your life points will still be lower, and then Psychic End Punisher can swing in for game that point directly. It's not set in stone yet. This is just another nice kind of alternative that I thought I would show you guys if you didn't have access to these, that you could very easily get into a Red Dragon Archfiend mini engine, which of course can just be bought with one Red Dragon Archfiend structure deck. So when you're paying something like £40 for an aggressor in the form of Chaos Angel, you can pay like £10 and get double aggressor in the form of these. It's still a work in progress, which is why these are not actually solid features in this deck, because you'd have to adapt a couple of other bits just to make sure that these are consistent as possible. But I thought it was a nice little niche option that you could look into if you wanted to put the deck together and keep it relatively budget. And that is pretty much it for the profile. Like I said, I really do enjoy the way zombies work. I love the fact that they have so much flexibility. They can go defensive, they can go aggressive, they can go control. I do like the way it works. I feel if you want to go more control, you'd go down the Eldritch route. But what I like about this particular build is the Synchro capabilities, as well as the Link Climb capabilities and Zombie World. Like, who doesn't like Zombie World? Being able to turn all your opponent's monsters into zombies and then super poly them away, love it. But that is pretty much it for the profile. If you have any questions, by all means, please put in the comments down below. If you want to see more spooky updates from the other cards that were on the poll, so I believe it was Ghost Tricks, Skull Servants, Vampires, even people mentioned Phantom Knights, which I didn't really technically count as like a spooky option, but I suppose they kind of are. They're like Ghost, well, they're Phantom Knights. So there are loads of kind of options that you can look into. If you do want to see that, get this video above 50 likes, put in the comments down below which version you would like to see, and I'll be more than happy to bring another update for you as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.